This week on the Brody File, it's a new year, 2012, and a new political landscape. Can the dark horse Rick Santorum beat the frontrunner Mitt Romney? We're going to delve into Santorum's background. Game on. Plus, leave it to the Brody File to center on family. Look who showed up. It's Jim Bob Duggar.
That's the reason we're getting behind Rick Santorum.
Plus, Republican strategist and uber-evangelical Ralph Reed.
They're very smart and sophisticated voters who are voting not just based on shared theology.
From Iowa to New Hampshire to South Carolina, the Brody File on the road and ready to go in 2012. And welcome everybody to the Brody File. 2012 is here and the political season is just heating up. Mitt Romney, here's the question, can he run the table? Can he get to February 1st and lock up this nomination? It's an interesting question, something we're going to try to answer here. And then you have Rick Santorum. What about this dark horse? That's what he is. He's a dark horse candidate that came out of nowhere and now all of a sudden is making waves. So we're going to look at Rick Santorum and Mitt Romney, also Ron Paul. Everybody's here in this show. Look, all three of these guys have perception problem. Let's start with Ron Paul, for example. I mean, let's face it, there have been people, look, not me, but there have been people that have called him the crazy uncle in the attic. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's foreign policy issues and they don't think he can be elected. He's not mainstream enough in terms of national security policy. That's his perception problem. Mitt Romney, we know all about his perception problems. They don't think he's a true conservative. I say they, the voters don't think he's a true conservative. And then there is Rick Santorum. He actually has the opposite problem. People think he's not only conservative, but he's too conservative, possibly. Now, you know, Rick Santorum is the big media star now, but it wasn't that way 9 months ago. As a matter of fact, we were actually in his home right at the beginning, talking to him before anybody else was talking to him. We sat down with Karen Santorum, his wife, Rick, both of them on the couch, and here's a little bit of that. We want to bring this back to give you a sense of what Rick Santorum was saying a while ago. And now a potential new chapter that may take place in a few key early states. And what has the family kitchen table discussions been like about that? Karen? Rick, I'm not going to let you answer that first.
All over the place. There's obviously a lot of concern because very much with Rick, he is... I'm so proud of him. He's an amazing man. He's very bright. He's very well educated. But what I love about Rick is he's so courageous. So for me, it's not just another political race. It's about going onto the battlefield and, you know, defending God's truth in the world, defending the sacredness of marriage, defending the sanctity of life. So I see it a little differently because I know it's going to be literally on a battlefield and it's going to be really hard. So there is a lot of reservation. But it really boils down to God's will. What is it that God wants? And you know, each and every day, that's the prayer. I'm here. What do you want from me? And we have prayed a lot about this decision, and we believe with all our hearts that this is what God wants. I have no idea what it will be tomorrow, a few months from now. Right. But for now, this, you know,
we're on the path.
We're on the path, and so we just have to be faithful and take one day at a time.
Yeah, and you see it as a battlefield as well out there. I mean, do you see it that way? I mean,
well, obviously, I think we're both concerned about the future of our country and the kind of country our children are going to grow up in. I think we all feel that we have a responsibility. This is something that my father drilled into me, my grandfather drilled into me, that, you know, we have to leave this country better than we found it, and that's the test of every generation. And I think a lot of us, Karen and I think a lot of Americans feel like, you know, we may be that generation that doesn't do that. With the culture the way it is, the economy and the mountain of debt, the huge size and expansion of government, and our seemingly inept ability to defend our interests around the world, that you know, we may leave America weaker, and I believe that can be changed just like anything else. But you have to get out on the field. You can't sit on the sidelines and expect someone else to do it. Everyone has to do it. That's one of the things I'm so inspired by the Tea Party folks, that they came out and recognized our country at a time of crisis and put, just like our original patriots did, they put their businesses aside and they went out and fought for the freedoms that made this country great and can and will make it great again. I'm confident that what's happening here in America today is not something that's a flash in the pan. That I think we're seeing a real revival of sorts of the American spirit.
Well, the media scrutiny is definitely picking up on Rick Santorum, and there are folks out there that call him a big spending Republican. Michelle Bachmann has actually said that he has endorsed pro-abortion candidates before. Listen to some of what she told me on her campaign bus.
Rick Santorum is a big spending Republican. I'm not. Spending is a crucial issue in this race. I'm an extremely strong fiscal conservative. Rick Santorum voted for the bridge to nowhere. He votes for earmarks. He defends earmarks. He votes for big spending budgets. I don't. I've taken on my own Republican Party in addition to the Democrat Party. That's a big distinction. Plus, it's unfortunate, but Rick Santorum has backed Arlen Specter and endorsed other pro-abortion candidates, including candidates that support partial birth abortion. Now, Rick Santorum doesn't support abortion, but he supported candidates who do. The real problem with Arlen Specter is that Arlen Specter supplied the 60th vote for Barack Obama so he could have Obamacare.
So what is the real deal on Santorum? What is his record? Jennifer Wishon back in Washington with more. Jennifer.
Hi, David. All the candidates who've surged to the top of the GOP pack have, of course, had to sit in the hot seat of scrutiny. And that's where we find Rick Santorum sitting now. He served in Congress for 16 years, 4 in the House and 12 in the Senate. That means he has a record, and voters are taking a closer look. The sound you played from Bachmann echoes concerns some conservatives are expressing about Santorum. This is what we hear the former senator talk about a lot on the campaign trail.
The social issues. Those are the issues that matter. Those are the issues that bind us together. And those are the issues we cannot retreat on.
Santorum is a devout Catholic and pro-life. As a senator, he wrote the law that bans partial birth abortions. That's why some wonder why, in 2004, Santorum supported fellow Pennsylvania Senator Arlen Specter. At the time, Specter was still a Republican, but he supported a woman's right to choose. Santorum even cut an ad for Specter.
I'm proud to endorse Arlen Specter.
Another issue for Santorum, that dirty word earmarks. As a member of Congress, Santorum got a reputation for, quote, bringing home the bacon. In 2005, he worked to extend subsidies to Pennsylvania dairy farms, pushed a plan to use federal money to pay the health and pension costs of 600,000 retired steel workers when their companies went bankrupt. He also voted for the legislation that included the infamous Bridge to Nowhere in Alaska. He supported President Bush's No Child Left Behind law, pushed for subsidies for Amtrak, and fought cuts to the food stamp program. The Conservative Club for Growth says Santorum's record is plagued by the big spending habits that Republicans adopted during the Bush years.
I'm ready to lead. I'm ready.
Now, in fairness, many of the programs Santorum supported were Republican initiatives. He even campaigned as a compassionate conservative. David, the scrutiny he's facing now is proof that what's good for a member of Congress isn't always good for a president.
Thanks, Jennifer. Jennifer Wishon in Washington. Well, let's move now to J.C. Watts. J.C. Watts, former congressman who is supporting Newt Gingrich. We had a chance to talk to him about exactly why he's supporting Gingrich, but beyond that, we really wanted to find out from J.C. Watts whether or not he thinks Newt Gingrich can continue to stay positive. And as we've seen, that's not happening. He's trying to run a positive campaign.
Well, 45% of the ads in December, of the negative ads, were run against Newt Gingrich. Sure. And the fact that he's still standing, I think, speaks to the toughness and I think what it takes to be the president. I think what it takes to beat President Obama.
That's J.C. Watts here on the Brody File. All right, look, it's 2012. We've got a new budget here at the Brody File, which means we got buku bucks. That's right, and that means we're going to start the social media cafe. We got bells and whistles. I mean, look, we're hip, right? I mean, Facebook, Twitter, we're everywhere. Well, Cicely, she doesn't have a last name, it's just Cicely, is now going to bring us the Social Media Cafe. Have a look.
That's right. It's a new year and a new Brody File segment. I'm Cicely Gosier, resident web producer, here to make sure you don't miss out on all the social media goodness out there. In fact, I spend so much time Googling for the Brody File that yes, I am an avatar in real life. In case you haven't noticed, Rick Santorum is popular now. So popular, in fact, that even his sweater vests are going viral. That's right, folks. Bill Cosby made him famous, but Santorum is making him political. Rick's vests have their own Twitter account and a YouTube video, complete with the tagline, "Sleeves Slow Me Down."
Don't be afraid, it's okay anyway.
How do you like the Iowa State vest? Pretty good? Yeah?
What do you think? Is he best dressed for the White House? Tweet us your thoughts at the Brody File with the hashtag #BestDressed.
The Social Media Cafe, it's going to be a weekly segment here on the Brody File. All right, when we come back, the flavors of the month, September, October, November. How many flavors have there been? And Mitt Romney, some commentary about him. Is he vanilla? Also, later, Ralph Reed breaks down the evangelical vote. What are they thinking and why? Back in a moment.
We created this website as a place where kids can learn the Bible in a whole new way.
Kids will love Superbook.tv. Their games, the ability to create your own personal Superbook characters. We even have a place for kids to listen to music on Superbook Radio.
Superbook is CBN's animated series that teaches the Bible through the eyes of two friends and their robot sidekick. We're going to tell stories all the way from creation to Christ's return.
The website also teaches kids life lessons. Parents can spend time online with their kids learning about the Bible.
Superbook and Superbook.tv are entirely gospel-centered, and by supporting it, you'll help bring God's Word to children all over the world.
We're reaching a new generation with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Together, we can give today's kids the truth of the Bible in a fun and exciting way that will change their lives.
Visit Superbook.tv today.
Finding video on CBN.com just got easier. We've taken all our video, the 700 Club, news, testimonies, teachings, plus our 24/7 channels, and put them in one convenient location, CBN TV. Watch what you want, when you want. It's all simple to find, and now easier than ever to email a story to a friend. CBN TV on CBN.com.
I was always on the cusp of exploding. So I figured out if I get rid of the wife and the kids, then I can just send them money. Went to the junk drawer, I got the Bible out, put the tape in, and I believe that moment, Christ made sense. There is no earthly reason why we're still married. It is a divine intervention, and I thank God, and showing me what love, grace, and forgiveness looks like.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File. All right, we have heard so much about flavors of the month. We figured, hey, as a public service to Brody File fans, we want to run through those flavors right now. August, Michelle Bachmann, clearly, she was the flavor of the month. She won the Ames, Iowa straw poll and then disappeared. In September, Rick Perry was the flavor of the month, and then oops, that was enough of that. In October, Herman Cain was the flavor of the month, and then boom, implosion, done. November, Newt Gingrich the flavor of the month, and then all those negative ads, and that was the end of Gingrich. And then in December, what a wonderful time for Rick Santorum to be the flavor of the month, because he did in late December and early January, and the rest is Iowa history. And then there's Ron Paul. Now, Ron Paul, we couldn't really think of a flavor of ice cream. I'm thinking he's more like rainbow sherbet. You know, he's got a little Democrats, some Republicans, some independents. I mean, he's kind of everywhere. And so rainbow sherbet could be pretty good for Ron Paul. And we had a chance to talk to him about a lot of different issues, but specifically we wanted to know, why is he appealing to evangelical Christians so much? That's what the polling data shows. Take a look.
Why do you think you're resonating with
Christians around this country, because there are the libertarian Christians, but there's also the evangelical Christians. And I've noticed from Jesse and others putting out those press releases about all these Iowa pastors endorsing you quite a bit in 2012, especially compared to 2008. Well, what has been the difference? Why do you think you're resonating with the Christian audience more?
Well, I do approach it slightly differently. I don't separate freedom of religion from freedom of speech and freedom in the economic market. I bring this all together and say that if you and I have a natural right, God-given right to our life and our liberties, therefore our lives are our own responsibility, so our personal salvation, our intellectual destination is determined by our own self-being and by free will. Mm-hmm. But if you put it in that category, but as also translates into economic freedom. And when you put that together, it is appealing and it's less threatening, because if the real issue is religious freedom and homeschooling, you have to sort of endorse the whole principle of freedom. So therefore, people who talk about libertarian Christians means that they are less intimidating, but they absolutely will protect those rights of individuals to go to their church, raise their kids the way they want, educate them the way they want. And I think that's the whole thing, is bringing them together that way.
Ron Paul here on the Brody File. Now time for a Brody File commentary, which, by the way, will be a weekly feature. We hope you'll TiVo it at home.
Big night.
Mitt Romney.
Exciting night.
Is his flavor vanilla?
Hey there.
I mean, think about this for a moment. Vanilla, it's an okay flavor. I mean, it tastes fine. It's not Rocky Road or cookies and cream. It's not dynamic. It's not flashy, but it's reliable. It's it's the old standby. You know, Mitt Romney, that's part of his problem, is that people are just not all that excited about his campaign. And so vanilla seems to be an appropriate ice cream flavor for him. Now, what is Romney's challenge ahead? Well, there's a lot of different challenges ahead, but first of all, he's got a 25% problem. He seems to not be able to get over that threshold. That is going to be a problem for him no matter what happens in these next few states. At some point, the question will be, can conservatives coalesce around a more conservative candidate than Romney? Or can Romney make the case that he is indeed the most conservative candidate out there? Remains to be seen. All right, back in a moment with Ron Paul's cookbook with his wife, Carol. It's Carol and Ron Paul. Their cookbook is pretty neat stuff. Back in a moment.
I finally got to the point where there wasn't enough cocaine and there wasn't enough alcohol.
Welcome to the 700 Club.
They started discussing between the two of them a need to pray for this guy.
Call on the name of the Lord.
Come on, God, give me the buzz. I was joking around. I was daring God. They finished praying, and Ben says, the guy we were praying for didn't get the buzz he was looking for. My heart stopped. He spoke to me that night, and he said, when you're serious, scream out the name of Jesus, and he'll save you. And I remember what Ben said, and I screamed out, Jesus, Jesus, help me, save me. The very second I did that. If you don't believe in miracles, then don't believe in me, because I am one. I felt the buzz.
We asked CBN.com users how we could make our website easier to use, and we listened.
This is really easy to read and move through.
The information opens up a whole lot quicker.
Yeah, it's much faster. There's everything I'm interested in right here. The click of a mouse.
The new CBN.com has been redesigned, making it faster to find your favorite 700 Club stories, musical guests, our online community, and special features.
Anyone can enjoy this new site.
Visit the new CBN.com today.
I always wore a mask. I would never let anyone see what I really felt inside. My whole life, all I wanted to hear was that I love you and I want you. I just realized all of the horrible things that I've done in the past to feel loved and accepted. They were fleeting, it didn't matter. The relationship that I wanted my whole life was right there for me, and it was Jesus.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Brody File. All right, time now for our evangelical appeal segment. He's coming, yo! Yes, he is, yeah. How are evangelicals voting, and why are they voting that way? Well, who better to ask than Ralph Reed, the chairman of the Faith and Freedom Coalition, and also a top Republican strategist who has been through a few of these rodeos. We talked to him specifically about evangelical voters, not just in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, but overall. Talk to me about this Mormon Catholicism, if you will, vote. I mean, in the sense that you're going to have a lot of folks voting for Romney, a Mormon. You're going to have a lot of folks voting for Santorum, a Catholic, and yet this is the part of that evangelical vote that's going for something.
Rick Santorum is winning a plurality of that vote. He's winning about 1 out of every 4. Mitt Romney's winning about 1 out of every 5. And Newt Gingrich, who's a Catholic convert, is going to win about 1 out of every 5. So what's interesting is the conventional wisdom, which is that evangelicals vote for the person who attends the church most like theirs, talks most like them, believes mostly what they believe, is being shattered here tonight. And what it means is that evangelical civic engagement is not a cause for alarm. It's a cause for celebration. It's not a threat to democracy. There's nothing sectarian or anti-democratic about it. They're very smart and sophisticated voters who are voting not just based on shared theology, but on who they think is most electable, who they think is most qualified.
And that is Ralph Reed here on the Brody File. You know, when you go to a Rick Santorum event, you see these banners. It says faith, family, and freedom. He talks about all 3 of them. But then we thought about family. We said to ourselves, you know, in Iowa, we noticed he was traveling around with the Duggars family. You know, the 19 of them. You've seen their reality show and all that. Anyhow, Jim Bob Duggar is traveling on the bus with Rick Santorum, and our Brody File producer Dana Ritter caught up with Jim Bob and has this.
Talk to me a little bit about going into an election and being a Christian and having that worldview, and how do you approach that? And how would you give other Christians who don't have a lot of political experience advice in how to seek out who to vote for on a more generic level? Obviously, I know you're for Rick Santorum, but could you just give Christians a little bit of advice on that?
Yeah. I would encourage Christians that are watching your program or just interested in how do I find out who to vote for in all the different elections. A lot of times, like Focus on the Family and other Christian organizations will actually have like candidate questionnaires that they send out, and that will ask candidates questions where they stand on the issues of like traditional marriage, where they stand on issues of should you raise taxes or not, and go ahead and search out where people stand on issues. And it's just kind of like the Bereans. They asked Paul different questions, and they compared what he said to the Old Testament. And I think as Christians, we need to make sure that people that we elect are not just stating what we want to hear, but they actually believe it from their heart. And that's where I really believe Rick Santorum is somebody that doesn't take polls to find out what to say in a campaign rally. He's speaking from his heart. He's speaking from his core beliefs, that what he believes he's found in the Bible and also the Constitution. And I believe he's somebody that will stand for what's right, and he's got a proven track record that he's not afraid to stand up against extreme pressure, and I believe he's somebody that will represent us well in Washington.
Okay, and my last question, and possibly the most important question of all, which is, how many of your kids at this point are registered to vote or will be able to vote by November 6th?
Yes. Well, I brought 12 of our children up here to Iowa to help out with the campaign. And, of course, we have Josh, Jana, John, Jill, Jessa. So we have 5 of our kids that are registered to vote at this point that are old enough. But hopefully, pretty quick, the rest of them will be of age to vote, and we could win any election.
All right, well, there you go. Jim Bob Duggar and all of the Duggar kids that are able to vote now in November. I would say that it's looking pretty good for Rick Santorum in Arkansas.
All right.
Definitely. Thank you, Jim Bob.
Thank you.
All right, David, back to you.
Dana Ritter, our Brody File producer, in full stalking mode, and we like that here on the Brody File. Hey, speaking of family, there is a political cookbook put out by Carol and Ron Paul. Yes, Carol, the wife of Ron Paul, has been doing this since the 1996 election. They put this out every 4 years, and take a look. I mean, this is pretty neat. There it is, Ron and Carol's political cookbook. This is pretty cool stuff. They've got recipes in there from average Americans. There's Bible verses in there. Ka-ching for the Brody File. We like that. And then in addition to the Bible verses, there is also a bunch of family photos that you can see of the Paul children and grandchildren. Who knows? Great-grandchildren. I don't know how many generations are in there. There's tons of generations. The bottom line is, this is a pretty neat thing, and they do it every 4 years. And Carol and Ron Paul showed us this, and we just thought we'd bring it to you because, you know, we're filling time. All right, when we come back, the Oy Vey moment of the week. Get ready for a stampede.
Fresh, wholesome juice. There's nothing like it. But until now, you had to stress and strain and make a huge mess to get just a little bit of juice. But not anymore, thanks to the Jack LaLanne Power Juicer. You can drop in whole vegetables, whole fruits, apples, oranges, celery, cucumbers with no chopping, no slicing, no struggling. And thanks to the Power Juicer's revolutionary patented extraction technology, you can get up to 30% more juice than those other juicers. Doctors recommend we get 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables every day. With the Power Juicer, you'll be drinking your recommended daily allowance in just seconds. And the pulp from the extra large pulp catcher can be used to make pasta sauces, healthy desserts, and much more. The Power Juicer is dishwasher safe, so cleanup's a breeze, and the powerful motor is guaranteed for life. Order the Jack LaLanne Power Juicer now for just 2 easy payments of $49.90. And as part of this special TV offer, we'll also send you this amazing recipe guide filled with over 60 of Jack's favorite recipes. Try the Jack LaLanne Power Juicer in your home risk-free for 30 days. If you're not completely satisfied, send it back for a full refund of the purchase price, no questions asked. Call now.
We created this website as a place where kids can learn the Bible in a whole new way.
Kids will love Superbook.tv. Their games, the ability to create your own personal Superbook characters. We even have a place for kids to listen to music on Superbook Radio.
Superbook is CBN's animated series that teaches the Bible through the eyes of 2 friends and their robot sidekick. We're going to tell stories all the way from creation to Christ's return.
The website also teaches kids life lessons. Parents can spend time online with their kids learning about the Bible.
Superbook and Superbook.tv are entirely gospel-centered, and by supporting it, you'll help bring God's Word to children all over the world.
We're reaching a new generation with the gospel of Jesus Christ. Together, we can give today's kids the truth of the Bible in a fun and exciting way that will change their lives.
Visit Superbook.tv today.
And welcome back, everybody, to this 2012 kickoff edition of the Brody File. All right, it is time. Get ready, get psyched, do something, call the kids. Time for the Oy Vey moment of the week. This Oy Vey moment of the week is 2012 presidential style. Check this out. Roy Salstrom getting mugged. There, I mean, look what's going on here. He is getting trampled in a sea of folks following Rick Santorum. We understand Royce is okay, though I believe there was an MRI on his ankle. Now, as for C-SPAN, take a look. I'm doing the C-SPAN shot, and whoa, hey, get out of the shot. Carl Cameron from Fox News almost gotten our shot. Now Oy Vey, get away. Now look, we're just going to replay it in slow motion. Take a look at his face. Look at that. Ooh, yeah, he realizes he's got to get away. And then there was this. I didn't have a tie during one of the events that I was covering, and so we had to go over to the Rick Santorum campaign, and they gave us a tie. Well, it turns out it was actually Rick Santorum's tie. Can you believe that? So there I was, wearing the tie, and that was the tie that he wore the night of the Iowa caucuses. Who would have thunk it? That's it for this week. Until next week, God bless, good night. We'll see you with more 2012 presidential election coverage.